Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our 7th edition of K-Talk, our monthly live show with all the exciting topics of the coming trade show K in the German city of Düsseldorf. Long before the exhibitors built up their booth on the show floor in October, the topics and technologies are being prepared. Good to know, so we can discuss about them already now. The title of today's edition is Plastics in the Construction Industry, Building a Sustainable Future. And as usual in our K-Talks, I invited some guests, all of them true experts in this sector. And here they are. Welcome, Thomas Hülsmann, Managing Director of the Association VinylPlus Deutschland. Good to have you with us, and greetings to the German city of Bonn.
Yeah, Guido, thank you very much for the invitation and your warm welcome. And also welcome to all the visitors today with us.
Next is Stephan, Gesuato, General Manager Protective Solutions at company Kurtz. Good to have you with us, and thanks for joining, Stephan.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be invited. Thank you very much. And we are confident that we have nice discussions today.
Before we start with our discussion, I'd like to invite you, dear viewers, to participate and send your questions and remarks to us here in the studio, or type them into the chat box right beside the video. I will pass them on to my guests and we will try to answer them during the show. So don't hesitate. The more you participate, the better we know what you are interested in. Okay? Let's start. My first question goes to you, Thomas. Before we start talking about sustainability and the future of polymers and plastics in the construction world, I would like to set up the status of this industry and learn from you. Where are the polymers needed, and what polymer materials are mostly needed for the construction industry?
Yeah, in the building and construction industry, we have a wide variety of polymers which are used. And the main polymer is PVC, which is used there. And the applications range from, for example, roofing membranes via insulation materials on the surface of the houses and of the buildings, but also inside it is used for cable insulation, for example, for flooring materials, floor coverings, and for many other products. And in infrastructure, it is used for pipes and ducts and all these kind of applications. So a very wide range of different products, different applications.
Stephan, how did the polymers in the construction world change throughout the last decades? Have we seen an increase? Have we seen a substitution of more traditional materials by plastics in the meantime, or is it more or less unchanged since ages?
Well, it is more or less unchanged so far. In the last few years, the materials have been found that could do a lot of jobs which are coming from a natural-based side. But for the major applications, still there has not been a big change in the last years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We will talk about sustainability in our today's show, and we will focus on plastic applications that might improve the sustainability of the construction sector, and not only in Germany but throughout the world, because we have a building and construction boom, we can say, not only in the developed countries but in third world countries as well. The construction and building sector is one of the most booming, we can say, worldwide. What impact does that have on material availability, Thomas?
Yeah, as you correctly said, the building and construction area is a really growing area, and we have a lot of renovation activities, not only new build, but also renovation activities. And there are many different products, as I have mentioned before, are used. And we can see that, for example, the availability over the last years have been, sometimes been not so as the demand was, but that was caused by the crisis we were in, and we all have seen that supply chains were broken. And it is not only the building and construction industry which was affected by that, but also several other industries as well. We can see that in the automotive industry and in other industries as well. But in general terms, the plastics industry is well prepared, let's say, to serve this market and to supply into these construction applications.
Stephan, I know that your company, Kurtz, is pretty much engaged in the area of developing new solutions, new polymer solutions to, for example, substitute former fossil-based materials by means of bio-based materials now. How far have you come so far, and what are the results of your latest developments?
Yes, Guido, thank you. This is true. We have developed a new technology which is used in the particle foam sector, which uses, instead of steam, radio waves to fuse beads together and to create, for example, insulation panels. And this technology also is ideal to work with other materials with which we are working in the development. For example, a maize-based material, which can be as well popped. It's like a popcorn, but individual little grains that are popped up to a certain size, similar than EPS particles. And they are having a binder which creates the fusion between these individual particles. And with this material, we are quite far already. It has the similar behavior like EPS. It has a lambda, which is on the same level. It has, it is not flammable without any products to be added, because it's from nature not flammable. And all these characteristics help to soon bring such a product on the market. We have an industrial partner who is working together with us, and we expect soon the readiness for market.
Okay, so this is one example where you have been able to substitute former materials which one can say do have a negative impact on the environment, at least if they are thrown away after their usage. But these materials based on natural components at least improve these characteristics. Thomas, what other examples can you give me about newly developed polymers, maybe on a natural basis, that can change the whole thing?
Yeah, the raw material basis is, of course, a very important element with regards to the sustainability of the products. And we also have in our industry, we see now more and more so-called bio-attributed or circular attributed products. That means that these polymers are no longer based on fossil carbon sources like oil or gas. And so these are polymers in the PVC industry are already available, but we know that also in other plastics industries they are also available. And they, of course, improve the carbon footprint of the plastic material, the polymer, but also then, of course, for the products which are made of that, like windows, window profiles, pipes, or any other building product.
When talking about newly developed materials, we can often, or we often experience that there is an enormous increase in price, because the development of such materials is very cost intensive. The introduction into the market is cost effective. So the question, of course, Stephan, is are these new materials that you explained to us, can people afford to use them in the construction, or do they still need some time to come down to a level which allows for bigger usage and bigger volumes?
Well, initially, it might be the case that due to starting capacities for such applications, the raw material cost could be higher than the usual materials that are used. But on a big scale, so if they will be used in a big quantity, it is at least envisaged to have a similar price level or market level. Yeah.
Thomas, we know that the construction world, the construction industry, is a very price-sensitive one. So that means there are the construction companies are under enormous pressure to withstand the competition situation, and raw materials like concrete, like stones, like steel, like glass have undergone enormous price battles in the past. What does that mean for polymer materials of the future? Will they need to be reduced in prices, or do we need new developments to reduce those prices? Or the alternative would be accepting higher price levels because of the climate protection aims, or the reduction of impact on nature?
Yeah, Guido, I think it is prices and costs is a very sensitive element, not only in the building and construction area. So far, I would say the price is one element, and also price and cost is one of the pillars of the sustainability. We have environmental aspects, we have social aspects, and of course we have economic aspects. But I would not say that the products have to be cheap or have to be at the lowest cost. The key message and the key indicator is to have an excellent price performance. That makes a product and a material successful in the building and construction area. And we have seen over the years, for example, that if you look to the German and the European market on windows, that PVC windows, or plastic windows as they are called in Germany, they have, let's say, gained a big market share, around 60%, and they have gained that from traditional materials like wood or like other materials like aluminium. And we can today see that if you have a price performing a product with a high price performance, then you will be successful. And I think we have many other examples which are demonstrating that. For example, flooring systems, so-called luxury vinyl tiles, they can see a renaissance in building and construction in the last 5 to 10 years compared to other materials. So I would say price performance is key. The question about is a product sustainable has to be answered. And yes, we as consumers have to expect that sustainability has also a price. So if we look to these developments as Stephan has described, or as we are doing, as our total plastic industry is doing, to incorporate other raw material sources, price that will have an effect on the prices. So I expect higher prices on.
The coming case show, as always, is a truly international one. So it will be a gathering of experts from the polymer world, from all over the world. They will all come together in Düsseldorf. So of course, I have to ask this question: what are the regional differences, globally speaking, in terms of sustainable construction materials? Is there a hotspot in the world where you would say they are focusing mostly on sustainable construction materials? Is it Germany? Is it Europe? Is it the Americas? Is it Asia? Where do you see the most efforts to bring sustainable solutions into the construction world? Stephan?
Well, my opinion is that Europe has a leading role here in the moment. And followed by the Americas, and maybe in Asia, this sustainability is not at that level yet, or plays not such an important role as in Europe or America right now.
Thomas, do you share this opinion?
Definitely, and it's difficult to judge how far other countries or other continents are with regards to sustainability. But I would not only fix this question or combine this question based on building and construction. I would look to it from a different angle. I would say it depends also how do we want to achieve the climate targets, and how do we want and have to decrease the CO2 emissions or the the emissions. And if we look to that, there are many continents, many countries, many leading countries are supporting, let's say, activities there, have their own targets. And if there are clear targets, then we will see that these countries have to invest into a different kind of mobility. They have to invest into good insulation, low energy consumption in building and construction. And I would say this is a leading element from my point of view with regards to the requirements for a better or higher sustainability.
If we are looking on the drivers for innovation, there are different examples of different industries and different areas where we see, on the one hand, for example, the consumer, who might be the driver for innovation because they are asking for innovation. There are other examples, for example, in the automotive industry, where we have the legislation forcing the automobile manufacturers to bring new technologies to, for example, reduce CO2 emissions and stuff like that. So it hasn't been the consumer asking for that, but the legislation. How is it in the construction sector? How is it in the construction world? Is it the consumer who is asking for more sustainable solutions, or is it the legislation side? Thomas?
Yeah, there's definitely both. It's legislation is asking for solutions, and legislation is, let's say, therefore a key driver also to reduce, as I said before, the CO2 emissions and to contribute to a better situation with very clear targets. In Europe, for example, with the Green Deal, the European Green Deal, where clear and concrete targets are set, and all the industries have to contribute to that. In Germany, we have the Klimaziele, so the climate targets, and the new government has, let's say, set the targets for 2045 to be climate neutral. And this, of course, drives the automotive industry, this drives the building and construction industry, and this also drives electronic industry. And they are looking even specifically into the different sectors, how well they perform to their individual sector targets. And we have seen that the mobility sector, so automotive industry, has failed to fulfill the targets for 2020, and also in the housing industry, we have seen that the reduction target was slightly not achieved. So instead of, I think it was 119 million tons of CO2 emissions, it was only, it was 119 and the target was 117. But now in the next 5 years, by 2030, we have to come down to almost half of that. So it's really a tough target for all of us.
Talking about all of us, I would like to invite you, dear viewers, to place your questions and remarks in our little chat window, in the chat box beside the video window. You can really participate in our discussion because it is a live show. So I will read your questions and remarks here on my tablet, and then I will pass them on to our experts, and we all together will try to reply to them. So feel free to enter your questions and participate in our discussion. Stephan, I know that you are using this technology that you just described, this RF, so radio frequency technology, to bring up new particle foam materials, not only in the construction segment, but you are collecting experience with that on the packaging side. So in the packaging segment, you have started a project as well, very successfully, and I know that there are consumers asking for those naturally based materials. What parallels do you see? Is there a similarity between packaging industry and the construction industry, or are these two worlds completely apart?
No, they are not completely apart. We face similar topics in our discussions with customers, and the materials that we received from raw material suppliers after we presented our new technology have come from different sides, from different application sectors, and as we do not use steam to fuse particles together like we always did in the past, we received materials with high temperature performance, for example, for which you would need high steam pressures to reach the temperature. And with this new technology, we have been able to fuse these particles together without creating a high pressure. But anyhow, yes, we face similar topics, and in the packaging, there are maybe not that strict controlled products like in the building industry. For example, a facade panel is one of the most strictly controlled products. It is simple, it is a square, it has 6 faces, yeah, but it's heavily controlled by authorities. And so only a few materials have been detected to meet these similar performances. But anyhow, if we look into what Thomas before said, that we have to meet our targets by 2045, we should not forget that plastic materials, they contribute a lot in reducing our CO2 footprint. For example, in an insulation of a facade, yeah. And if we want to cope by 2045 in Germany, we need to increase the renovations of homes by factor 3 every year. And in other countries in the world, it is similar or even with a higher factor. So renovation must be driven heavily, and in order to cope with the targets that we all have. And there are similar targets in other places of the world, like in Americas and in China or in Asia. Yeah.
Let's have a look at our famous crystal ball, where we can see the future of different industries. And I would, of course, like to invite you to have a look into your crystal ball for the construction and building world. Thomas, to start with you, what do you think will be the future in this industry, and how will polymer materials develop in this industry? Let's say in 25 years from now, where will we see more polymers in this segment, and what impact will it have on the sustainability of the construction industry?
Now, that is a really nice question, I must say. To look forward into the year 2020, what did you say? Plus 25 years, so 2050 or 2045. It's really a long distance to make a good judgment. But it's I really see plastic materials as a strong contributor to achieve our targets. Also, as Stephan has said, insulating buildings is one key element. We have to be efficient with our products. That means we will also see that our building and construction products, of course, have to fulfill high and very high standards with regards to different properties, flame retardancy, technical performance, surface appearance, and so really a wide spectrum. But I see an excellent future because we are a very innovative industry, the plastics industry. And although in, let's say, more mature markets or more mature materials, we can see a lot of smaller steps, but even a lot of small steps will contribute to have a bright future for plastic materials, high-performance plastic materials in the building and construction area. And of course, they have to fulfill the requirements with regards to circular economy. That means we will see much more recycling in building and construction, but we are, I would say, well prepared. We are developing different technologies to be able to recycle, and we already fulfill many of these requirements today.
Okay, thanks a lot. Before I ask Stephan about his future perspective, I would like to pass one of the questions of our spectators to you. Here is one asking, what will be the advantage for using the new developed material? Does the consumer have accept sustainability? So I guess this question goes to you, Stephan, about the newly developed material that you just described. And the question is, what are the advantages except sustainability?
Yeah, the advantages except sustainability are that the behavior and the handling of the materials are similar than the people that work today with polyurethane foam or with polystyrene foam for insulation. So it's a solid panel. It's you can cut it, you can fix it with the same elements to the facade as you are used to do it nowadays. So there is no new training other than than the production for the material, let's say, which is new. Yeah. And,
okay.
What another advantage is of course that during production no water is needed, because water nowadays plays also an important role, and water is needed to grow a crop, yes, but to convert it and to mold it into a product, this is free from water almost, yeah. And other technologies, other materials like for polystyrene foam, for EPS foam, water is needed. For example, to give you an idea, about 6 liters of water per kilogram. And if we compare it with polyurethane, it's 74 liters of water per kilogram. And if we look into wood fiber, which is sometimes also used already in insulation, here we talk about 900 liters per kilogram. So with the actual situation that we all face, we have a lack of water in a lot of places in the world. We need also in our industrial processes to come down with water consumption.
But I'm curious about this material that you just described, because being made of mice, so that means a natural crop material, I could well imagine that, for example, if you insulate your house facade with it, it might feel different inside the house, right? Because it should create a different climate inside the house compared to plastics material, right?
Not really, because it's at the end it's the heat transfer rate. Let's say we call it lambda, which is responsible for the insulation, and it has the same lambda than EPS, for example. Yeah. So the behavior inside the house does not change. Only the feeling, I have insulated my house with a natural material.
That's what I meant as well. So that is something I would bet on. Mm-hmm. There is another question from our viewers. Maybe this is for you, Thomas. The question is, do you also see a trend towards redesigning products to enable more recyclable products? That's a good one.
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, I think that is definitely the trend. We see that, and we also have to fulfill that already today. We are incorporating these new requirements, for example, also in standards. We have to accept that in building on construction products in the future, we have to fulfill targets of minimum recyclate concentration, and that is something which is also contributing to, let's say, changes in the product footprint, in the carbon footprint of the products.
And I think this question is a very good one, because the topic of recyclability and circular economy will be one of the most striking ones during the coming K-Show. There will be a lot of examples of the industry, of the engineers, to improve the circular economy of plastics, of polymers. Stephan, what impact does your new material, on your new technology have on circular economy? Can you bring the material into a rotation easier than before?
Definitely, yes. Because if we look into the particle foams, the beads have usually an expansion material like a pentane, which help to create a pressure between the particles to create a solid bound product. And once you recycle this material, this expandability is not given anymore, because the beads are old. The expansion material, the pentane, is not inside anymore, and we have to create this effect to bring these beads together mechanically by, for example, compression of the mold. Yeah, the mold in the mold, the products are compressed. And now imagine if you want to get into these compressed beads with steam from outside in is very difficult. On the outside, it is very probable that the beads are getting too much heat, and inside the product, you will not get a core fusion. With our radio wave technology, this is totally different. We create in between two electrodes a homogeneous electrical field, and in this homogeneous electrical field, we have the same, let's say, energy everywhere. So this effect that we have with steam is not given, and we are able to mold products with very, very high degree of recycled material.
Guess what? I'm absolutely astonished by the technological solutions that company like yours are developing or have been developing during recent years. And during the show, or in these different shows that we're having every month, I learned so much about this industry and what the engineers in these companies are developing day by day. And I think it's a pity that people outside the studio or outside the plastics world do not know and do not learn about the efforts that you are all doing in this industry. I like that so much. And on the other side, I see that plastics, that polymers, do have a very, very bad image. And obviously, we have not been able to explain what efforts actually are done in the background. And I like very much what I'm learning today. Thomas, I think there are thousands of those stories in the background where companies like Kurtz and others are working on a sustainable future.
It's definitely the case. And I mean, the plastics industry is under pressure. And as you have said, the image is, let's say, deteriorated over the last years. And it is really a problem, and it's also a problem for us if we look to the, let's say, plastic material which is called marine littering the oceans. That is not something we want to see, and this is something we have also to solve, and therefore we have to help to find solutions to reduce, let's say, this. It is a part of our industry who has to take responsibility. It's also us as consumers who have to take responsibilities on that, as well as, let's say, the different governments in the different countries. I mean, it's really a joint efforts which have to be, which we have to have to overcome these crises, and we have to find the right solution. And recycling and excellent waste management systems will help. And we have to be prepared for critical questions. And as you said, we have hundreds or thousands of excellent examples where we can demonstrate how plastic products made from plastics are contributing and are part of the solution and not part of the problem.
And now it's time for your crystal ball, Stephan. Looking 25 years ahead into the future, what will be the construction world like, and how much contribution will polymers have in this industry?
From the machine builder's point of view, we believe that in the construction world, polymers will still play an important role. And the way of construction, the way of insulation or insulating and building will maybe vary to today. We will use more robots, more automated systems, because if we imagine that we have to for example, as I said before, we have to renovate so many buildings which do not have any insulation at all now. By 2045, then who shall do that? We do not have enough workers nowadays to do these jobs. So we will have to find materials and ways to do those insulation, for example, or to build the houses in a more automated way.
Okay, so my last question to you both is about the coming K-Show. I would like to know, what recommendations do you have? Where should visitors of the K-Show go first? When they're coming to Düsseldorf, when they jump into the exhibitors hall, where do they need to go first? Thomas, you start.
Yeah, they definitely have to come to the important place where all the plastics family is united, and where the new developments and the very interesting, let's say, discussions, not only on a specific material, on a specific problem, but in a more general aspect will be discussed. That is where plastics shapes the future. So the booth of the plastics industry, where they are jointly there and where they are coming together. Plus, of course, the different fora where you have, let's say, the new innovations presented.
Stephan, what's your recommendation? I guess I know what you're saying.
On the way to the Hall 13, there is the VDMA pavilion, and here the German Association of Machine Manufacturers shows all technologies and materials around for circular economy and for sustainability. And of course, we have also a booth there. And in our typical area in the Hall 13, we would like to invite all people that would like to visit us and learn more about our new technologies.
All right, gentlemen, we have come to the end of our today's K-Talk. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for participating. And we will meet in Düsseldorf. I swear I will come to all the exciting places that you just described. Dear viewers, thank you for joining today. If you want to watch our K-Talk again or share it with your friends and colleagues, just have a look at our landing page, where we will shortly place the video on demand. You will find all our previous shows there as well. If you want, we will meet again next month in our edition number 8. On the 1st of September, we will discuss about packaging and logistics, so don't miss it. Thanks again for watching. Stay healthy and bye-bye.